Hey guys, MWCW here. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about graphics and everything. As far as the default airlines go for this game, you are not going to have any kind of graphics issues with these airports. You can run on ultra, high, full. You can run the overall quality on ultra. You can run the texture quality on high. You can run the decor objects on full. The decor objects is the surrounding area, all the trees, like the background of the city, and stuff like that. That's what all that is. But you notice that, oh, Doug, your frame rate dropped down to 40 frames from 55. That is because I'm on the Energies Design World Color World Traffic, and because of the level of detail that they put on these planes and everything, which is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong here, guys. It is phenomenal. But when you have a card as old as mine, at that 20, basically if you're in the RTX 20 series, your cards are going to struggle. Or something equivalent to it, your cards are going to struggle with this. The best thing that I can tell you guys to do, if you are playing these big airports with the Energies Design Pack, is to turn the decor objects to off. And we're just going to apply that. As you see, that gets rid of some of the shadowing, some of the other stuff that's not needed. And all of a sudden, I go back up to 55 to 56 frames a second. That's all I got to do. Especially if you're a multi-monitor user and you're using the top monitor up here. Now note, multi-monitor users, if you do click on your D-Bright or ADRs, whatever you have on your second monitor, wherever you have on your second monitor or whatever, basically, you are going to drop down to 30 frames regardless. So I just clicked on a plane, as you see my camera turn, but you notice that my frames per second dropped to 30. So yes, it's going to make this look very, very choppy. Let me do this now. Let me click back on the airport, and all of a sudden you see it go back up to right around 50, 49, 50. You know, that's all good and everything. We good there. But if we want to try to get a little bit more frame rate out of our stuff for multi-monitor users, just turn down our graphics or overall graphics quality to high. Let's see if it'll kick in here in a second. It doesn't seem to like that plane. But as you see, we are still at 44 frames a second. So now what we want to do is we want to kick it down to medium. Alright. Just applied. Close it out. And we're back up to about 55 frames a second. This is what I suggest for the multi-monitor users to do. If you are RTX 20 series or lower, that means even the GTX series, guys, if you're running the video cards, drop it down to overall quality medium. Texture quality you could leave on high if you are kind of like looking around the airport and stuff like that with the free camera or whatnot. Decor objects off. And if you want to save your card a little bit more, like on the GPU usage side of it, just lower your texture quality medium. So medium off is what I recommend for RTX 20 series and lower. Because as you see, we get nice frame rate here. We get 50 frames to about 55 frames at certain places at the airport. But overall, we get 50 frames. Now, if I was to go back into the tower, line this back up. This is for your single use monitor, guys. Let me turn that off. As you see, we're only getting 40 frames. I'm peaking at 47. Basically, here's the thing with you guys. Single monitor, guys, even though that you might have the highest graphics card possible, which could be a Titan Ti, a NVIDIA Titan Ti. The thing is, you don't need all those graphics or anything running. You can go low off. We're applying that. As you see, it took effect. And I'm going to close this. Now all of a sudden, I'm getting almost about what I would outside the tower at 50 frames a second just by looking at this one screen. Moving over. You notice that I'm not... Now I get really good frame rate here off the scripts. And I get really good frame rate off the camera or the command table. When I look all the way out, okay, it goes back down to 50. That's fine because it's trying to draw some of these objects back here in the back. But if we're constantly looking at these two primarily, and then every now and then looking over here at the METAR, checking on the winds and the weather, you know, yeah, 48, I would say 45 to 50 frame rate is very acceptable for you guys. So in the long and short of it, multi-users, mess around with this. Multi-monitor users, just mess around with it. See what works best for your graphics card. 2060 supers and lower, I'm letting y'all know right now, just go medium off, and you should be perfectly fine if you're running multiple monitors like I am. I'm running 3 monitors actually. And I get good decent frame rate. It's going to drop down to 30, and I know this when I click on one of the other monitors because, like I said, the 2060 supers, especially if you have, I want to say it's the Gigabyte, which is the Gigabyte version of the card that I have, it has 3 different ports on it. It has an HDMI, DVI, and DisplayPort. So for me, it's basically trying to figure out which one needs to render the fastest, and it tends to struggle with that. I'm just going to be upfront and honest, it tends to struggle with it. Single monitor users, if you are not doing the old, oh, I'm going to go into the 2D mode, look, you know, have it looking around or whatever when you click on a plane, you know, you got your ADIRs, your that, you know, some of you might have the METAR. You guys might have some kind of setup, and of course it's going to do this because I have a top monitor. So if you do something like this, get like back in the Tower 3D Pro days and stuff like this, you know, I get 55 frames a second. But I wouldn't run more than medium off on these bigger airports for the time being. I know Field Air is working on it, but like I said, I don't think it's a Field Air problem because the defaults, I get 55 to 60 frames per second no matter what I do. It's only when I have World Color World Traffic up and running. And like I said, I think it's just because of the level of details that they put in. The love, basically their blood, sweat, and tears, and their overall love to making these planes look very well for you guys. Very pretty, very, you know, very graphical. Very high level of detail. Not to knock their work, but when you're running a 2060 Super or lower, you're going to have to tone that quality down a little bit. I'm sorry to say that for you guys, but you're gonna have to. And then especially if you're running custom schedules, it takes even a bigger hit where you might even have to go low off in your settings. I hope this has been somewhat helpful. I hope somebody finds it helpful and trying to figure out why the performance or the frame rate is lacking for them. Like I said, I'll put my recommendations in the description below when this video goes live for 2060 Supers or the AMD equivalents and lower. So basically, wherever my card lines up amongst a mobile card and amongst a ADM Radeon card, wherever those might fall, I'll put all three of those in, and anything below those, I would recommend doing low off or medium off. Those are my recommendations, depending on what you're trying to do. Like I said, you can push it to high quality. You can push it to ultra quality. Just know that you are going to take a little bit of a frame rate hit. And this is not a performance issue within the game. It's a performance issue with the level of detail that's in the game. So you take away some of that detail and everything, your game should run perfectly fine. This is MW later. Peace.